Kāro katoa ki ngā pū rāpau, ki ngā pū kōrewa te Māori. All of you would know something about the story about Maui who one day got obsessed with immortality and decided that it may be a good thing to live forever and to be immortal, just like the gods. So he said to his father, Makia Tūtara, well, I'm off, I'm going to go and finish off Hinenui Te Pō. So we will all live like Ngā Atua forever. We never had to worry about our destiny. We never had to worry about our future, because we will live forever. So Makia Tūtara said, boy, you must be a clown. That ain't going to happen, because Hinenui Te Pō will do you in. You haven't got a chance at all. And then Maui said, oh, I'm the fella that fixed up Tamanui Te Rā. I'm the one that pulled up the ikanui of Te Moana Tini. I'm the one that did in Mahuika. You're talking to the same man. There's nothing I can do. Was at that point, of course, that Makia Tūtara had to come and face the truth, that his son was arrogant and had forgotten his own limitations. Anyway, Makia Tūtara then took Maui to Ngā Wai to perform pure ceremony. And during that, of course, we're told that he made a hapa mistake with his karakia, and under his breath went, oops, and then said nothing more of it. Off goes Maui, and all of you know that the plan that Maui had was, well, to do in Hinenui Te Pō. Apparently, the story goes that there was a nark in Maui's team. One of the birds was a nark and went over and told Hinenui Te Pō, hey, this is going down, and we're all planning this thing. And Hinenui Te Pō says, oh, is that right, eh? Oh, that smart ass, I'll do that. So anyway, Hinenui Te Pō then sends out, I think, what they call a namupoto. I don't know what the Pākehā word for namupoto. None of these things that bite you during the day. Oh, sandfly. Sends out a sandfly. So what of course Hinenui Te Pō is doing is to get some toto from Maui, and then they use the toto to whai māku to him, and then he's done. He's gone. So they sent out the sandfly, and it was a good idea, I think, in theory, but Maui saw it coming, and the story goes that it went for his reke for his foot, his heel, and of course all he did was slapped it, thing was dead. Made so much noise, it was like a B-52 bomber. You would follow it from 10 k's away. So the bad news came back to Hinenui Te Pō. Well, so then she sent out another one, eh? And this time this is the wairoa mosquito. The stealth bomber goes out at night, don't make a noise. So the story goes that it got Maui right in between his eyes. The thing went in, sucked his blood up, and off. By the time Maui slapped it, it was gone. He slapped his own face, and the wairoa went back, gave Hinenui Te Pō the toto of Maui, which she turned into a potion, and then she smeared it on the whatitoka of her house, or the door sill of her house. And the plan was that any human being or half god coming through the whatitoka would immediately lose all of their senses and forget who they are and what they're doing there. So wera te pai o te maumahara, e kore hia nei tātou. Te pai o te maumahara. You would forget who you are, your intent and purpose, and you would be rendered useless. So she smeared it on the whatitoka of her whare. Laid back at the boat Tuarongo confident that her plan was foolproof. And so anyway, Maui, of course, and his mob, then reached Hinenui Te Pō's marae, and then the story goes, he turns himself into a hurupiki, caterpillar, a caterpillar, unnoticeable, quiet, and then he crawls across the marae Aotea. Must have taken years. He gets to the porch, to the veranda, and then that was a long journey done. He was there. He was on the brink of his mission. Yeah. So we all know the porch of the house as Te Korowai, Te Whanau. There's another word for the Whanau. There's another word. Can you remember what it is? What do you fellas call the veranda of the house? Yeah, the Māori word for it. Is there another Māori word for it? No, the porch. The porch of the house. Huh? The mahau, yeah. That's the other word for it. The roro is kind of the street Māori word for it, the roro te whare. But the more formal word for it is te mahau. But the long version of the story is te mahau tā rea rea nui a Māori. That's the whole name. Te mahau tā rea rea nui a Māori. And it's to commemorate the mission of Māori gets to the house. Unbeknownst to him and against his orders, a bird is following him. He told them all to stay on the other side of the marae out there. But a bird was probably from Ngāti Raukawa, the bird. So this bird is following Maui, and you fellas know that the bird is a fantail. And the fantail is about to break out in laughter, because that's the funniest thing he's ever seen, is the caterpillar. If you know how the caterpillar goes, it's quite comic. So anyway, Maui then crosses the whatituka, the threshold, and nothing happens to him, because Hinenui Te Pō's plan was to zap a human being. She never thought that Maui would come in another form. So, the whaiwhaia mākutu thing didn't work. So the hurupiki goes across the whatituka of the whare into the whare. There's Hinenui Te Pō e takoto mai ana, tiraha mai ana i te pau Tuarongo whare. And of course you know the rest. Maui's plan was to reverse the birth of mankind. Maui, that was his plan, you see. He figured out that life begins in the womb, and life is nurtured there, and then man is given birth. So if he reverses the process, then we would all achieve immortality. Good plan. Good plan. But the bloody bird started laughing inside the whare. The bird had followed him inside the whare. And that's why you would notice that some of you, the older Māori, start freaking out when a fantail comes into the whare. They don't mind any other bird like a korero in the fridge. I mean, flying around. But a fantail is a big no-no. You find everybody jumping up trying to usher the thing out and talking to it. What are you doing here? Right here, get out. And they shoo it out as quickly as they can. Well, it comes back to that story, you see. Because Maui's plan was undone by that tiraira. Undone. Because the damn thing made so much noise Hinenui Te Po woke up and saw Maui in the form of a hurupiki entering her. She squishes him, that's the end of Maui. But more important, that's the end of our dream for immortality. So, he tangata tā, he kiko kiko, he kiko kiko. And what comes with that is all of the frailties of being a human being. We're not perfect. We then realise our greatest enemy is ourselves, because there are times in our life where courage abandons us, where we become dumb. You know, you wake up some mornings and you don't know nothing. Then there are other times you wake up, you know everything. There are other times when we are brave and bold, we cannot be defeated. Then there are other times that somebody just says a word and we break out crying and defeated and want to crawl under the table. We are susceptible to diseases, to sickness. We're mentally frail. And also spiritually sometimes we need a lot of cuddles and attention in order to be at our optimum level. So our dream for immortality disappeared with Maui. To compensate that, we have leaders. To compensate, we want to grow and create leaders that gives us a sense of continuity and immortality. It's not the same thing as actually living forever like the gods, but it's the next best thing. Hey, it's the next best thing, where we grow leaders that will tell us how we can die but never ever become extinct. Where our leaders guide us as to how we should feel, and they are able to express to the world how we feel, and they reveal to us the truth. Our leaders are the people that are there to ensure that being Ngāti Raukawa is not temporary. That being Ngāpuhi or Ngāti Porou or Ngāti Kahungunu is not just a blink of the eye, then it's over. It will not end with us. That somehow it will continue. That in essence, that's what we wish our leaders to do, is to provide us with a way of being continuous, of enduring, of surviving, of being immortal, but in our way. And you know, they don't have to put up a strategic plan to convince us of that. That's a thing that we feel, and we know straight away if that's a good plan or not. And I think that's in essence, that's what we want from our leaders, is the vision of continuity. Because if they were able to convince us of that, then we won't fear dying. We won't fear dying because within our iwi and hapu are institutions and mechanisms that preserve and promote and pass down to the next generation our principles, our values, our beliefs, and our desires, and it survives beyond us. And then you don't mind dying if it's like that. Your time has come, time to move over and make room for cows and sheep, or whatever it is, or kangaroos, and you can die with the belief that the next generation is right, that Ngāti Raukawa survives another generation. World domination is near. And it's all right. We panic when our leaders are not providing us with that. Because we know the difference between temporary wealth and immortality as we know it. I think all Māoris now understand that money has got very little to do with immortality. Money is a temporary wealth. And that's why we talk about other stuff within our hapu. I think it is your obligation. It is your obligation to participate and to be part of that, especially as students and affiliates of Te Korowai Aroha. You are expected to know this stuff, to be thinking at that level, and you have to take care of your own view and your own vision of that immortality. Immortality as is possible for us, not the immortality that the gods have. That's different. So that to me is in essence my expectation of leaders, and I believe that was, in other words, in their own words, that was the mission of ngā rangatira o ngā hapu o ngā iwi o whanau. These people did not fear the rule, which is to be a leader will cost you nothing less than your life. Nothing less than your life. What I think they mean by that is that you will spend your whole life doing this stuff. You know? It's not something you do in between jobs. You know? There are some leaders that are like that. We all of us have part-time leaders. We have casual leaders. We have leaders on loan, on lease. There are imposter leaders. There are false leaders. All of that. I think all of that stuff is present in iwi. There are various grades of leaders. Low-grade leaders. There are high-grade leaders. But it's you, the members of that hapu and iwi, and I think that has the power to elevate your true leaders forward and to impede false leaders from getting any further. The power always lies with the people. And when the people are apathetic, and deaf and blind, then it opens the doors to anyone to contest a leadership position. And then all hell breaks loose. There's confusion, there's civil unrest within a whanau or marae or hapu. And it's the iwi, by instinct, you don't have to have level 3 NCEA to figure this stuff out. You can see it. You can see it for yourself. There's a very humorous whakatauki that I read many years ago, and it goes something like this. But I think there's a little bit of truth in it. And it says that an army of lions led by a sheep will never ever defeat an army of sheep led by a lion. So what that's saying is that leadership is everything. So again, an army of lions led by a sheep will never ever defeat an army of sheep led by a lion. And I think that whakatauki, while funny, is, I think, saying to us, it's suggesting to us here that there is a natural ability and a sense to leadership. That leadership is a matter of heart, not PhD or MA degrees. And especially Māori people can see it when that is in your heart. They can see it, they can sense it. Even your enemies can see it and sense it. And they fight harder because of it. They fight harder against you because of it. So I think that Whakatauki says that leadership is a matter of heart. And that there is an element of leadership which is natural and instinct. And it's not, you can't go to a school and learn everything about leadership which guarantees that you will now be the chief of your iwi. You can go to kura and learn some stuff, but it's for the iwi, they look past all of the flash words and the flash degrees and all of that, and look into your heart to see if it's there. And once they sense it's there, then they become greatly relieved because there is hope. There is hope now for their hapu and for their iwi. And that's what all of us do, you know, with the tamariki. So when I go to the marae, I observe the younger generations of tamariki, and I find myself looking for that, looking to see if I can see something in their heart, which is like a passion and a love for being who they are, and without the frills. They don't have to know Siminti mō tētea waiata, but you just look for a feeling and a sense there, and it gives you hope. You know, you kind of go back and oh man, I saw those kids and man, our future's a little bit brighter. Because they're showing signs of that. You and I will be greatly distressed if over the years we don't detect that at all. We become distressed and filled with despair. So much so we want to abandon the iwi and the hapu and take a pill and become a Pākehā. Much easier. All you do is take care of yourself. That's it. You have no Maoris coming around, no raiding your cupboard, feed the mother down the, interfering with your drinking time, with your football time. And there are of course many times when each one of us feel like that. And I put it to you, it's because we sense desperation. We sense, we have a fear that our future is not secure. And that means more mahi for you, more mahi to do. You don't see relief in the next generation, the generation after that. So I think that suggests that part of our mahi is not to grow so much a fan club or followers, but our moral duty is to grow leaders. Because that's where our answer lies, in growing leaders for the future. Not so much growing voters in support for you and your plan. I understand that's what we have to do in terms of the politics of the time, but the greater guarantee is to know that we have an institution, or we have something that we're doing that grows leaders for the future. I think the story about the sheep and the lions may suggest that it may be a confession, really. That story may be a confession around our shortfalls, our shortfalls, that we need leaders because we are admitting that there are shortfalls in our own capacity and in our own ability to figure out what life is about. We need someone to tell us that stuff. For some people it's too complicated. Life is too complicated. Look, they just want to go into a routine, and that's big enough, that's complicated enough. They would like somebody else to take care of the big picture, because they are too busy with the small picture. So sometimes our reliance on leadership is a confession of some type about our shortfalls to be independent, to figuring out what life is about. Sometimes it's an admittance that we don't have the courage ourselves to be leaders, because we have a look at them and think, God, who wants to be a leader at a hapu? God, terrible. Everybody's stabbing your back, you know. And when you go to represent the hapu, you have to use your own cash, you know, to pretend that the koha comes from the hapu. And they say to you, yeah, Nan, you go and represent us, and then Nan has to use her penny hana. There's no glory. There's no glory. They wait till you die, then they say, oh, one trouble versus one trouble. While you were alive, nobody was there to help you at all. So sometimes having leaders, from one point of view, is an admittance that we don't want to do it, that there is a shortfall. The story of the sheep and the lions, on the other hand, is a revelation about our need to be assured that everything's all right. No. So sometimes we do rely on leaders, you know, like to give us a weather forecast about the future, no? So when our leaders come in and say, choice, we go, oh, great. We have no idea why it's great. But they see something, and they would know, because they're the leader. Yeah, because they're clever, they're telling us it's great. Because, well, we don't know how they figure these things out, it's magic. They got something in their cupboard at home that they look at and then, great. So all human beings need assurance. We need to be assured that everything's all right. When we're children, we rely on our parents to tell us that. We rely on our parents to tell us when it's good, when it's bad, when it's right, when it's wrong, when we move, when we stay, all of that. To tell us what the boundaries are and which way to go and how fast. No one in this room is an exception to that. Your parents did it, your grandparents did it, your brothers and sisters did it, sometimes for fun. They gave you the wrong information. And then you graduated, and your friends eclipsed all of your parents. Then you took your guidance, leadership from your friends. If you were lucky, you figured out that you would do it for yourself. You know, if you had a lot of encouragement during those years, people would encourage you to do it for yourself, to be your own leader, to figure out how to do that stuff. But not everybody got that encouragement. You know, not everybody got that encouragement. Not everybody got that message, that memo, or that email, that text. Why don't you try and do it for yourself? Figure out how this leadership thing works, and try and do it for yourself. No, not everybody got that message. And all I'm saying is that's one of the things that every iwi and every hapu should be doing is in their own way encouraging people to grow their leadership qualities. You know, when I mean by leadership qualities, it's being a good mother, it's being a good uncle, yeah, it's being a good brother or sister, as well as those that want to be Prime Minister. Well, we'll have to do something about them. because of lack of ambition. Therein lies a problem. But let's not get confused that leadership, dreaming of being a leader has to be like, it has to be on the level of a astronaut or scientist. No, leaders are most necessary at home. At home, on the marae, in the neighbourhood. In Tāneatu, good leadership when there's a riot down your street because there's people that have been drinking for 2 days and they've decided to have a brawl down your street. And everybody's in their home looking out down the curtain, and then you see someone walk out of their house and say, "Hey, what are you clowns doing? Shut up and go home." Oh, that's a good fellow. So see, to me, that's a leader. That's a leader that does that. A leader is someone that brings you up and says, "Hey, look, you might have noticed, boy, there's a big car, your car's been scratched from one end to the other." Yeah, the name of the fellow that did that is you're greatly relieved because you understand that's taken courage. And you are encouraged because at least someone in my neighbourhood knows right from wrong, and that was wrong for that person to scratch my car, and he knows it, and he's telling you. That's leadership. It's not just we got someone in our hapu that wants to be the Prime Minister or wants to go to the Olympics. Those are ambitions that are fair, but they don't have to be at that level to qualify as leaders. Because iwi and nations and countries are built in the homes of families. That's where it all starts. And if you don't have leadership in the home of the family, then dreaming of leadership abroad, that's fantasy. You've got to start at home. So that might be that sheep and lions korero is telling us something about that. But I also think that story is telling us that leadership is a natural instinct of people. We move towards it. As soon as people are born, they spend their lives kind of moving towards groups. Whether that group is your whanau, hapu, whether it's a group brought together by finance, economics, culture, music, art. Most people tend to gravitate towards a group, a collective of some type. And it's our way, I think, it's our instinct. It's our instinct that life is more manageable if we go into a group and try and figure it out. It's easier to work things out as a group than an individual. Generally speaking, this is not a hard and fast rule, but generally our logic is that if we have to build a house over there, the more of us available to do it, the easier the task will be. It probably is the opposite for cooking. We don't want too many people there. But the general rule is life becomes a lot more manageable when we are in a collective. And when we come in a collective, we look for leadership qualities. It doesn't have to be one person, it can be alternating. But we want somebody with the experience and the vision to tell us how to go about collaborating and cooperating so we can finish the job off, so we can do the mahi. We know that our leaders have gone astray when they talk, they're just talking about themselves, about the mahi. But they're just talking about themselves. We know that there's something wrong. Our leaders are there to help organise us to complete whatever the task is. Whether that's rebuilding the iwi, whether that's saving the reo, whether that is doing mahi in the community, whatever it is. So it's an instinct. That's our instinct really to have leadership. The test of leadership is, I think, like tikanga, the test of any leadership is that it becomes a magnet for good fortune and for prosperity. And that leadership becomes an inhibitor for bad luck and misfortune. And I think that's the same as tikanga. A good leader is a leader that can create or bring about opportunities for prosperity and can organize us to minimize risks and menace and danger to us. I think if leadership can be measured, that's how we would do it. And traditionally, our most celebrated and successful leaders are those that have done that. Minimize danger and risk and maximize prosperity opportunities for us. That's how we have always measured them. Leadership ideally is something that is earned within hapu or iwi. I think the virtues and the emotions around leadership leadership has got something to do with trust, faith, goodwill, confidence, unity. It's got stuff to do with that. The exchange of it. The exchange of trust, faith, goodwill, confidence, passion. It's not just traffic going one way, there's an exchange of it between the leaders and the people. And it's not something that you do once and tick it off and it's there forever. You have to keep checking on it all of the time. It's a bit like the water levels, in the radiator of your car. Just because you filled it up last month, it doesn't mean it's going to be filled up forever. You just keep checking on it, and it's like that with leaders as well. Because never forget, leaders are people just like you and I, and sometimes we have a bad day, sometimes we have a good day, sometimes we tip over and never recover, and sometimes we tip over but we can recover. So it's kind of things like that. It has to be checked. Leadership is not really a position that you inherit or you are given. Leadership is a demand for action. When you are asked to lead your subcommittee or the BLT of your school, people are expecting you to do stuff, not just to say, oh good, I'm the chair now, so leader. Now that means I tell all of you what to do. No, not really. Leader means you're doing a lot of stuff. The reason why we want you to be the leader is because we can't do that stuff. Or we don't know how to do it, or we're not too sure. So that's why you're the leader, because we think you can figure it out. So you do it. You're not just cheering a hui, you're doing stuff. So it's like an action as well. I think from my own experience, I think civilization, life, having and achieving a life that is full of content and purpose and happiness relies on three things in my view. One is that the knowledge and the respect for truth, without, and truth to me is more than the facts. Truth to me is something, when truth is present, people have less fear and they are less likely to fall into poverty. I don't mean poverty just of wealth, but poverty of spirit, poverty of mind and emotion. When you respect and love the truth in your civilization, in your society, in your culture, your life is more valuable, your ways are more valuable, because you welcome truth. You have less to fear. You will not fall into impoverishment in the widest sense of that word so easily. Truth, I think, is a wairua thing. It's not just a tinana kiko thing. I think truth is a wairua dimension. There's a wairua spirit in truth. So I think a society, a club, an organisation, an iwi that values truth is an iwi and an organisation that will value life, and they will be an iwi, I think, that will flourish. The next virtue, I think, for a life filled with contentment and purpose is the love of justice, of right. The ringatu religion has this saying, ka tipu ake te tika I te whenua, ka heke iho te pono I te rangi, ka kihi rā ua kia rā. Nice, eh? Tipu ake te tika I te whenua, heke iho te pono I te rangi, ka kihi rā ua kia rā. It's one of the prayers that the ringatu have. These are like psalms, eh? Psalms. Yeah. So justice is the purest form of love. Why say that? Because sometimes justice costs you something. When you see something that is not fair, that is not right, and your heart and your way tells you that, but the price for getting it right means you have to give up something, and you do it, you give it up. That is the purest form of love. Because you accept the fact that you have to give something of your own to put it right. See, justice is sweet, isn't it, if somebody else is paying for it. And they don't come knocking on your door. I'll give you a personal experience. When we were doing the Kaingaroa forestry deal, what they call tree lords, the tree lords deal a couple of years ago, then we were all sitting there, 8 iwi. We were all there siting, and then there was on the whiteboard, it had something, I forget the numbers, $500 million of money. And of course, we all looking at each other. And the question was, how do we divvy it up? How do we divvy it up? There were some iwi in the room, this was their 10th deal with the Crown. They had plenty of money. There were other iwi in the room that had no money at all. This was their first deal. You had iwi in the room that were only 2,000 people, and others that were 45,000 population. You had some iwi in the room that were friends with the government during the Raupatsu years, and there were other iwi in the room that were enemies of the Crown and had been punished severely. So we were all different. When it came to divvying up the money, we got to a point where two iwi said, no, it's not enough. Their share was not enough. So we couldn't do the deal until everybody was happy. So there were two iwi that said, nah, not enough. But we had just finished allocating the money based on a recipe that everybody agreed upon was fair. Everybody agreed, yes, okay, well, here's your $1, here's your $50, here's your $100. All right, okay. And the fellow with the $1, oh, I'm not happy. Yeah, but you agreed to the recipe. Yeah, I agreed to the recipe to the formula, but I'm still not happy. So we all sat in the room. So then the ones with the most money said, all right, okay, $2 from you, $2 from you, $2 from you, $2 from you, give it to them. All right, okay. So they shared it with the other one, with the small iwi. Everybody happy now? Yes, we're all happy now. There you go. So that's what happened. Literally, that's what happened in the room, and the deal went through. So that's what I mean. When these people were not taking advice from lawyers. There were no lawyers in the room. There were no accountants in the room. No economists in the room. No. There was just iwi people. These were possum trappers, truck drivers, ex-farmers. They were all in the room. And they reached down to their sense of what was right. That's how it worked. And it is the first example in many years, too many years, where an iwi reached into their own pocket of their own money and gave it to another iwi in order to secure what was just and fair. That has become very difficult for us to do as Māori people, because our experience of colonization has taught us to be very competitive with each other. So, I look across from my rohe, what are those Ngāti Apa doing? What are they up to? Hey, did you hear that they've got 3 new cars? We're going to go and get 4. We're going to go and get 4 new cars. Oh, we heard that they just scored a contract with MSD for 800,000. Let's go and get us one as good as that. So often we have trapped ourselves into viewing either the next hapu, the next whanau, the next iwi as your competition, as your rival, as your foe. And we haven't been sharing very well with each other. We like to keep an advantage, because we feel that if we share the advantage that we have, then we have nothing at all. We don't become special. So we've been taught to be non-sharers. That's what we've been taught to do. And we're really good at it. We're really good at it at Tāneatu. We got something like X number of health providers in Ruata. I think Ruata was good. Yeah, we got the most health providers around about 9 health providers there should be nobody sick. But people are Thailanders that keep driving out to the Pākehā doctor. Because they're sick of that, because see, that's competition. That's within the same unit competing with each other. Lost in that game of one-upmanship. Yes, my office is bigger than your office. I have 2 cell phones. I don't know how to use them, but I got 2.
I want that one.
Yes. So is that I think it's that kind of thing that that I think haunts us. So justice without it, I think, without the sense of justice, then again our life is of less value. And justice again is a spiritual quality, in my view. It's an attitude. It's an attitude that we have, and most parents try and instill it in their children at an early age. You know, that sharing thing. When you see somebody in distress, well, do something about it. And human beings resist it because human beings, well, it's mine. You know, 3-year-olds say when human beings are 3 years old, it's mine. It's the most important word in the world. It's mine, not yours. They never use it, but it's mine. So when other kids are around, the mine thing kind of comes up with it quickly. Some of us never lose that into adulthood.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yes.
That's right.
The other quality besides truth and justice is peace. Peace can be very costly, but it's well worth the expense. Because only in times of peace do iwi flourish. Only in times of peace does tino ranga, tiratanga and mana motuhake grow. In times of war, of violence, of strife, mana motuhake and your ranga tiratanga does not grow. Because you're looking into yourself, you are clenched up and tense. When you are under tension and when you are under pressure, you don't grow. So leaders need to create an environment of peace where hope comes from, you see. Hope is translated into action in times of peace. In times of peace, people are free to imagine, to think and to be enterprising, which allows growth and prosperity for the iwi. Allows the iwi to endure, to continue. So those to me are big, important virtues and emotions of leadership, and probably ways in which we can judge whether our leaders are good leaders or not. When I look back in the history of Tūhoe, there were a lot of wars and stuff. There were a lot of wars and fighting and all that, but it's the leaders that brought peace at the end of that fighting. Those are the ones that we put up as heroes. Because the saying is, if you go into battle and you win the war but lost the peace, you've got nothing. If you go to war and you win the war but have lost the peace, you did not come out of it with peace, you've won nothing. You've won nothing. So at the end of wars, this must be peace. At the end of fighting, squabbling within a family, when you're squabbling within a family for that 3 acres, You and your brothers and sisters are fighting over who owns it or who should have it, all that. You notice that when families are squabbling, there is a total breakdown of everything. Whakapapa is called into question. Relationships, integrity, trust, confidence, faith, everything. Everything becomes uncertain. See, that is the nature of tension. That is the nature of whawhai. Everything becomes blurred. Have you ever noticed that when everything is sharp and clear, it's in times of peace? It's just a simple learning that we've had over centuries. This is what our tīpuna have come up with. That's why hoho te rongo, tatau pounamu, all of those institutes of Māori are very, very important. They are as important as winning the battle. Because if peace follows strife, then we have regained our grace and our honour and our life to go on. So those are all important measurements. The diplomats, the teachers, the peacemakers, they are as important as your warriors and your protectors of your tikana and of your identity. So, yeah, leaders are there to guide our feelings. Leadership is around a matter of your heart. Leaders are the people that convince us that the future will be better tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes, our leaders are the ones that remind us that the future will be better tomorrow. And when that day comes, then it's the next tomorrow. And that's neat because they're saying that we have everything to live for. We have everything to live for. If I was asked by you about characteristics of leadership, of course there are many. Depending on your environment and your circumstances, we demand different talents, different strengths from our leaders. But I think the constant ones across time and across circumstances are the constant ones that are there is one. I think it's reasonable for us to expect from our leaders a vision for the future. People like Lua Kenana worked because between 1900 and 1920, the Māori world here was in despair. People here had just come out of wars, they lost their land, the Māori population had dwindled down to nothing. We were known as the dying race. The best you could do would have been a farm labourer on a Pākehā farm down the road, and Pākehā farmers living on confiscated land. And there was great despair. Kenana was somebody that watched all of this happening, and he managed to pick up the mood of the people. He picked up the mood of the people and what they needed, and he articulated it in a vision. And I think leaders need to have that ability to do that, to move around their hapu and their iwi quietly, because you can't hear if you're talking. And leaders are the inspiration for leaders come in moments of silence, when they're just listening, when you don't actually notice that they're there at hui. They just move around. They move around the kitchen at the back and the front and the sides, and they're just listening. They're listening with their heart as much as they are listening with their tarina. And they're picking up on the mood of the iwi from young to old over time. And then there comes a time when that leader then is able to scoop up, to gather together the hopes, the wishes, the sadness, the gaps that are there, and then translate them into a vision. And that's where your leader is guiding the people as to how they feel. And when you're part of the people and you listen to that person and talking, you say, yeah, that's right, that's how I feel. Yeah, that's exactly it, that's how I feel. Yeah, I agree, that's what we got to do. Yeah, that. I think vision is simply that, is being able to articulate, to express. Otherwise, how the people feel, because either they can't express it themselves, or they don't think that it's possible to express it. But somebody comes along and does it, you know. And then you wouldn't have put $1 on that person the day before. You know? Some of the people that can do this stuff are idiots, you know. You know, people you thought were idiots, and then they come along and you go, geez. Because they almost come out of field, because they're unnoticed. But they've always been around, and that's their power. They've always been around. They've been listening. They've been feeling what's going on. They're able to do that. So I think that's the first part, is being able to put up to the iwi a vision that is achievable, filled with maramatama, with insights, filled with insights, and a tangible plan, action plan forward. I think the other thing that a leader should always show, a common denominator, is courage. We have a saying around here in Tānatu, because I know, probably because of our recent history. The saying around Tānatu is that one person with courage is a majority. Don't need to take a vote. If there's 1,000 people in the room, the one with the most courage, that's the leader. And that's a majority. Because the one with the courage will get off their ass and do it. Everybody else is just talking. Everybody else is wallpaper. So I think a leader must have courage, and courage to do things, courage to take risks when they are necessary, courage to correct things when they are wrong, you know, like to face the truth. You know, it takes a lot of courage to face the truth that, yes, we made that mistake, we want to put it right. The courage to bring justice about, because justice walks at a very, very slow pace. And sometimes you're in a hurry because you're a leader, because you want to be famous by next week, because you've got to go overseas after that, and you want everything happening on your timeline. A lot of us, a lot of iwi Māori have been waiting for justice for 200 years. We may have to wait another 200 years. It takes a lot of courage to face up to that possibility, you know? And the courage to bring about peace. Again, around Tānatu here, sometimes peace is mistaken for rolling over and surrendering. Because a lot of our people love fighting. And they think if they are in a permanent state of war, they are employed. That's their substitute for employment. If we're not angry and not protesting against something, there's something wrong. We need an enemy. We need somebody to hate. When you suggest there might be a time when we don't hate anyone, that there is no need to organise a protest or rally or roadblock. Oh, they become psychotic. They go, what are you talking about? This can't be right. So sometimes there is an addiction to violence. There is an addiction to non-peace. And sometimes it takes a lot of courage then to fight for peace. So I think vision, courage, humility, I think is important. Ngā kauriti, humility, and compassion. I would suggest to you, no matter what the circumstances are things that are good to be seen in our leaders. Compassion, humility, courage, and vision. Okay? Anything you want to say? Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you're talking about leadership and when your father is in support and that can sort of to make a leader or to make a tamariki grow up to want to be a leader, if you ain't got that support, but yet that tamariki grew up to want to, well, I don't know whether to leave, not to leave the whanau, but to leave what the issues and what the life was in that whanau, but change the whole focus as in when you turn out and changing and the focus was not to bring the tamarikis up and then environment as well. She was good. And changing it now to where we've come to now, and I turn around and look, but they're still sitting there. Can you go a little from that?
I think all of us can agree there has to be certain things present within a neighbourhood, within an iwi hapu or an area in order to encourage leadership to grow. I mean, if it's a desert, you can't grow flowers, you know. There needs to be certain things present in order to encourage and nurture those things. And I want to remind you that in our Tipuna's time, we had institutions that grew leaders. I think in some areas they were called whare, ngā whare puri, ngā whare kaha, ngā whare Wananga. In other areas they were called whare maire. Whare runanga in other areas. These were all institutions that was present in all iwi, right up to, I would guess, right up to around about the 1880s. These were institutions established by our tipuna for growing leaders. That's what they were there for. So they were either organised by a hapu or a collection of hapu, or they existed at iwi level. Sometimes it was 2 or 3 iwi belonging to the same waka that established one of these or some of these. But you have a look at the words. Runanga means to meet, to debate, to discuss, to consider. Whare puri, a house which holds on to and retains something of the iwi. That could be their identity, their tikana, their vision. Whare kaha, the house where the strength and the courage of the iwi is grown. Whare Wananga, again, where there is intellectual activities going on, retaining the mōhiotanga, the māramatanga, the mātauranga of the iwi. This word maire means to sing, to hum, and it's the house where they are continually humming and singing, reciting, because they're learning. So I just want to say to you that in times past, every iwi in Aotearoa had institutions that they established for the securing, growing, nurturing, encouraging of their leaders. And all of these places here were dependent on the whanau and the hapu and the iwi to supply them with people for here, their students. We don't have those institutions. The day that these institutions, including those ones there, the day that they were interrupted and undermined and belittled and their mana was watered down, that was the time when we transferred our attention to another tikana to supply us with leaders. And these are primary schools, secondary schools, colleges, universities, polytechs. See, these are substitutes for those. But these things, these institutions, are not in your control and influence. These institutions are deciding all by themselves what qualities of Māori leadership they shall teach. And then they offer you back these people which in the most are not usable to you. Many of Tūhoe graduates from universities are not usable for us here because their beliefs and their values are not Tūhoe anymore because we didn't teach them. They were taught by somebody else. And the tikana of that mōhiotanga that they had did not come from here, it come from somewhere else. So, our very 10 Tūhoe graduate from the mainstream system, of very 10 graduates, we might be able to use 2 of them, and at great expense because we have to teach them. So that's when you talk about can we save somebody that has grown up in an impoverished environment and create leaders of them. I'm answering in another way your question is that we need to actually re-establish our own systems of growing leaders. I'm not saying that this is the way, I'm just saying to you this is how it was before. We don't have our own system of doing it. And so it's ad hoc. The way we are picking up our leaders today is ad hoc. And we need to establish our own ways of... Imagine for example, Ngāti Kahungunu having their own, let's say, whare kaha, where they decide what the qualities of leadership is that they want. Not what NZQA wants, not what the Ministry of Education wants, not what kahikitia policy of the Putikokiri wants and will pay, but what they want. So Ngāti Kahungunu sits down and says, these are the qualities, these are the beliefs, these are the values that our future leaders must have. This is the mōhiotanga they must have on the land, on hapu, on iwi, on rivers, on environment, on whakapapa, blah, 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 blah. They decide. Then the challenge is for them to establish teachers and a place to teach that, and how they will recruit, enroll, how they will service those new leaders, how they will pay for it, because the mainstream system are unlikely interested in paying for it. Why? Because it's not serving the purpose of the government. How is the government winning with that? Because you're teaching stuff that's your stuff, not really Ministry of Education stuff. That's your stuff. So now you've got to figure out how you're going to pay for that stuff. How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to sustain it? Hey? Because at the end, your graduates come out with what? Well, you've got to explain to them from the start when they go in, they ain't getting a degree or a diploma or a certificate, they're getting something else, whatever that is. So it's a different system altogether. So what we have been forced into, what every Māori have been coerced and forced into, is we have been forced to try and create leaders from mainstream systems. So how well have we been doing so far? We've been doing that for around about 150 years now. As I look around iwi, well, you know, very few examples of success. Because a lot of Māori who have graduated from mainstream are not inspired to go back and work for their iwi. They're not inspired to. They leave their iwi and go somewhere else. Because their values are different now, their beliefs are different. What else would you expect? Because you're not teaching them. So graduates now are saying, you know, I spent 3 years getting my BA, then another 3 years getting my MA, then 5 years getting my PhD.